The court of public opinion may not like it. Power rankings may hate it. And the eyeball test may not like it either. But the Iowa Hawkeyes are 12-0. Mark Rogers TV and Last Word on Sports just a few minutes after the Hawkeyes disposed of Nebraska at Memorial Stadium 28-20. And much like most of Iowa's wins thus far this season, it was not necessarily a work of art. It wasn't a passing clinic. It wasn't an offensive explosion. It was survival, and it was limitation of mistakes while capitalizing on the opponent's mistakes. And when Tommy Armstrong's involved, that can be quite a few mistakes. And that may have saved Iowa's season and trip to the Big Ten championship game that was already sealed, but still a college football playoff to be advanced to with a victory over Michigan State, Michigan, or Ohio State next weekend. Let's get to this one. Again, Hawkeyes move on 28-20. They're 12-0. CJ Beathard, very workmanlike in 25-degree weather. The graphics on ABC told us that it felt more like 9 degrees. So the wind chill kicking up in this Huskers-Hawkeyes game. Beathard, 9 for 16, 97 yards and a touchdown pass. He had no turnovers. That's key. Jordan Canzeri's taken over as the number one option at running back for Iowa much of the season. He has pushed the 1,000-yard mark after 140 yards on 17 carries. So Iowa very effective against one of the 10 best statistical rushing defenses in the country. Nebraska came in giving up just 110 yards per game on the ground. Iowa gashed them for $140 just from Canzeri and 2 touchdowns. On the flip side, Nebraska turned it over. They made big plays in the passing game. Tommy Armstrong, 25 of 45, 296 yards, 4 big interceptions. So look at the completions of 25 for almost 300 yards. Tommy Armstrong gashed Iowa in spots. He has a cannon. He's got a great arm, but he makes the mistakes. And all the interceptions go back to him. None of them went off receivers' hands. None of them were perfectly placed that were dropped or tipped up into the air. These were bad throws and bad decisions by Tommy Armstrong. Let's see. The first interception was at the Iowa 34. He made either an overthrow or an underthrow. The ball was so poorly thrown and right to an Iowa player that I don't know if it was sailing on Tommy Armstrong or he completely underthrew it. That was when they were headed into Hawkeye territory in the first quarter. The next one proved to be somewhat fatal, the pick 6 to Parker Hess. And Nebraska went down at that point 14-10. He had a third quarter interception on a 2nd and 6. Nebraska moving the football at the Iowa 44. He threw it into double coverage as the safety was moving over, threw it away downfield, and the ball was brought back to the 30-yard line. And then with 4 minutes to play, with Nebraska still some life, he threw an interception with Nebraska at midfield at the 50-yard line. So all of them cost Nebraska a scoring chance. Only one of those interceptions was turned into points for Iowa. But again, good field position for the Huskers on all 4 of those interceptions, except for the pick 6, which turned into Iowa points. The other 3 interceptions, Nebraska was moving. They had crossed midfield. They had an opportunity to at least get into field goal range, if not complete the drive. And Armstrong lost through 4 bad interceptions. Also, curious play calling with about 6.5 minutes left. Nebraska down by 11, 28-17, driving down to the Iowa 19-yard line. And on a 4th down play, they went for it. So instead of opting for the field goal, Drew Brown came into the game 17 of 24 and kicking the ball very well as of late. Also knocked through a field goal in this game. Actually, 2 field goals for Drew Brown, so 19 of 26 on the season. They bypassed the field goal, went for a fade. So low percentage pass, asking a quarterback who is inaccurate to throw it downfield on the fade on 4th and fairly short to Brandon Riley, incomplete. So they could have cut it to 1 score. And as things turned out, Nebraska did drive it again down the field. And this time they opted for the field goal with just a couple minutes left on the clock. So curious play call and decision there. both the play call and the decision to bypass the field goal by Mike Riley at 28-17. Nebraska outgained Iowa 433 to 250. They gained more first downs, 22-11, and the time of possession was Huskers 36-24. So statistically dominated by Nebraska. Iowa doesn't turn the ball over. They rely on the running game. They know it's cold out. They gained the lead, the 1-2 score lead. They didn't rely on C.J. Beathard, who can open it up and produce in the passing game, but they didn't need him to, so he throws 16 passes. And Iowa wins in Iowa fashion, 28-20 over Nebraska, and now they await, most likely, Michigan State if the Spartans can avoid an upset against Penn State. Otherwise, it's the winner of Ohio State-Michigan. Need to hear from you now on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Would love to hear what people have to say about this football team that continues to notch W's. 12-0 going to Indianapolis, right here on Mark Rogers TV.